Part 1. The Present Model of Energy. This series of presentations consists of 3 parts. Part 1, the present model of energy, Part 2, motion and the reification of energy, and Part 3, system equilibrium, disequilibrium. Part 1, the present model of energy. Before proceeding to discuss energy, it is first necessary to present the situation regarding phlogiston theory as a comparison and benchmark. My apologies if you already know the background of phlogiston theory. The phlogiston theory was accepted for more than 100 years. The theory held that materials that burned contained a fire-like element called phlogiston that was released as the object burned. The main points of phlogiston theory were: all combustible substances contained phlogiston. The more phlogiston a substance contains, the better and more completely it burns. Combustion releases the phlogiston from the substance into the air. The flame indicates the rapid escape of phlogiston. There is an attractive force between the air and phlogiston. Air is necessary for combustion because it absorbs the escaping phlogiston. Combustion in a closed container soon stops because the air inside becomes saturated with phlogiston. It becomes phlogisticated air. Similarly, air is necessary for breathing. A creature placed in a closed container dies because the air cannot absorb any more phlogiston, so can no longer support life. This phlogiston theory was believed and propagated by the influential scientists and teachers of the day for over 100 years between 1667 and 1770. The phlogiston theory was discredited by Antoine Lavoisier between 1770 and 1790. Antoine Lavoisier studied the gain or loss of weight when tin, lead, phosphorus, and sulfur underwent reactions of oxidation or reduction, deoxidation, and he showed that the newly discovered element oxygen was always involved. Although a number of scientists, notably Joseph Priestley, one of the discoverers of oxygen, tried to retain some form of the phlogiston theory, by 1800, practically every chemist recognized the correctness of Lavoisier's oxygen theory. The example of phlogiston theory will be used to demonstrate the impact and effect of erroneous wording used in a statement. Phlogiston theory states that phlogisticated substances are substances that contain phlogiston and dephlogisticate when burned. Dephlogisticating is the process of releasing stored phlogiston, which is absorbed by the air. Growing plants then absorb this phlogiston, which is why air does not spontaneously combust and also why plant matter burns as well as it does. As can be clearly understood, the wording in the above statement and other similar statements on phlogiston theory has created a number of possible suppositions and assumptions. A. In part, every combustible object was composed of phlogiston. B. Phlogiston leaves the object when it is burning and goes into the surroundings, or the air. C. The more intensely the object is burning, the faster the rate of phlogiston is released. D. An object that did not contain phlogiston or had released all its phlogiston would not burn. E. A specific volume of air had a limited phlogiston absorbing capacity. There are other possible assumptions, but those above illustrate the point. A key assumption of the phlogiston theory was air attracts the phlogiston of bodies. This implies A. An attractive force exists between air and phlogiston. B. A pulling attractive force exists between air and phlogiston. Note, the pulling force was not considered or stated to be magnetic or electric in nature. C. Since every combustible material and living things are composed of phlogiston, there is always an attractive force between them pulling them towards each other. Further possible implications. 1. The less phlogiston the air has absorbed, the stronger this force of attraction. 2. The less phlogiston the air has absorbed, the greater the rate of phlogiston transfer. Can we measure point 2? Can these implications from phlogiston theory be used to support it? 1. The less phlogiston the air has absorbed, the stronger this force of attraction. 2. The less phlogiston the air has absorbed, the greater the rate of phlogiston transfer. Can point 2 be measured? Can point 2 be linked to point 1? I can measure the intensity of the light from the candle flame. The less phlogiston the air has absorbed, the greater the rate of phlogiston loss from the burning candle and the more intense the light from the flame will be. Note: each candle, according to its size, wick size, etc., has a maximum light intensity. Reversely, the more phlogiston the air has absorbed, the slower the rate of phlogiston loss from the burning candle and the less intense the light from the flame will be, until the air has absorbed the maximum amount of phlogiston it can, at which point the rate of phlogiston loss will be reduced to zero and the intensity of the light will be reduced to zero. The intensity of light can then be linked to the strength of the force of attraction between the air and phlogiston and a mathematical relationship defined that includes the various factors involved. This can be tested and refined. A chain of assumptions. Based on phlogiston theory and measuring the intensity of the light from the candle, the following chain of erroneous assumptions and suppositions can be implied. The brighter the intensity of the candlelight, the greater the rate of phlogiston transfer, so the greater the air-object phlogiston concentration differential, so the stronger force of attraction between the phlogiston and the air. The chain of erroneous assumptions and suppositions can be reversed to: the stronger the force of attraction between the phlogiston and air, the greater the air-object phlogiston concentration differential, so the greater rate of phlogiston transfer, so the brighter intensity of the candlelight. The erroneous wording used in the statement to describe the observation has 1. Created an assumed imaginary force of attraction that does not exist based on 2. Practical observations carried out that do not follow the scientific method. To be valid, the experimenter would have to manipulate the strength of the presumed attractive force between the phlogiston, which hasn't been proven to exist yet, and the air, even though it was thought at the time to be a single, indivisible element. 3. From the observations which are invalid and do not prove cause and effect, a set of mathematical equations can be developed to express the presupposed cause and effect relationship between the force of attraction between the phlogiston and air, the air-object phlogiston concentration differential, and the rate of phlogiston transfer and the intensity of the candlelight. As can be seen by this example of phlogiston theory, erroneous observation statements lead to genuinely mistaken beliefs. This phlogiston theory was believed and propagated by the influential scientists and teachers of the day for over 100 years between 1667 and 1770. The phlogiston theory example proves that the scientific method must be strictly applied and adhered to prevent the establishment of incorrect theories. Would have the application of the scientific method prevented the mistaken belief of the phlogiston theory from being established, accepted, and propagated? What is the scientific method? The scientific method is an approach to seeking knowledge that involves forming and testing a hypothesis. The scientific method provides a logical, systematic way to answer questions and removes subjectivity by requiring each answer to be authenticated with objective evidence that can be reproduced. The goal of the scientific method is to validate or invalidate the presumed cause of an effect. An experiment following the scientific method will feature an independent variable and a dependent variable. The independent variable is the presumed cause of the effect and is the factor which is changed between experiments, and the dependent variable, the effect, is what changes as a result. The steps of the scientific method. 1. Observe a natural phenomenon. 2. Alternate hypothesis. A. Independent variable, the presumed cause. B. Dependent variable, the observed effect. C. Control variables. 3. Null hypothesis. 4. Test and experiment. 5. Analyze the observations and data. 6. Validate or invalidate the hypothesis. A hypothesis will now be put to the test. Applying the scientific method to the phlogiston theory. Air attracts the phlogiston, a fire-like element contained within combustible bodies which is released during combustion. 1. Observe a natural phenomenon, a forest fire started by lightning. 2. Alternate hypothesis, a tree burns, effect, because of phlogiston transfer from the tree to the air, cause. A. The independent variable, the presumed cause, phlogiston transferring from the tree to the air. B. Dependent variable, the observed effect, the tree burning. The experimenter cannot manipulate or change the presumed to exist transfer of phlogiston in order to determine whether it is the cause of the effect and that it actually exists or happens. The independent variable is invalid, resulting in this experiment being null and void. Attempting to prove that phlogiston transfer is the cause cannot comply with step 2 of the scientific method. The hypothesis will be restated differently in order to try and allow it to comply with the scientific method. 1. Observe a natural phenomenon, a forest fire started by lightning. 2. Alternate hypothesis, the burning tree is losing phlogiston, effect, because of the attractive force between phlogiston and the air, cause. A. Independent variable, the presumed cause, the attractive force between phlogiston and air. B. Dependent variable, the observed effect, burning tree losing phlogiston. The experimenter cannot manipulate or change the presumed to exist attractive force in order to determine whether it is the cause of the effect and that it actually exists. The independent variable is invalid, resulting in this experiment being null and void. Attempting to prove that an attractive force is the cause cannot comply with step 2 of the scientific method. Also, phlogiston cannot be observed or measured leaving a burning object, so the effect cannot be validated. The hypothesis will be restated differently again. 1. Observe a natural phenomenon, a forest fire started by lightning. 2. Alternate hypothesis, the tree losing phlogiston to the air, effect, because it is burning or on fire, cause. A. Independent variable, the presumed cause, burning on fire. B. Dependent variable, the observed effect, tree losing phlogiston and it transferring to the air. But phlogiston cannot be observed or measured leaving a burning object, so the effect cannot be validated. The independent variable is invalid, resulting in this experiment being null and void and not being able to prove that phlogiston actually exists, let alone proving whether it is being transferred from the tree to the air. The light and heat leaving a burning object can be observed and potentially measured, but they are not phlogiston and are not the cause or effect in the stated hypothesis. The hypothesis will be restated differently once again. 1. Observe a natural phenomenon, a forest fire started by lightning. 2. Alternate hypothesis, light being emitted, effect, because the burning tree is losing phlogiston, cause. A. Independent variable, the presumed cause, burning tree losing or transferring phlogiston into the air. B. Dependent variable, the observed effect, light being emitted by the burning tree. The hypothesis is malformed and invalid because the independent variable has two causes, not one. The independent variable can either be the burning tree or the transfer of phlogiston to the air. The experimenter cannot manipulate or change the presumed to exist transfer of phlogiston in order to determine whether it is the cause of the effect and that it actually exists or happens. The independent variable, the transfer of phlogiston to the air, is invalid, the experiment being null and void. Air attracts the phlogiston, a fire-like element contained within combustible bodies and released during combustion. No matter how the hypothesis is worded, the independent variable will be invalid and the experiment null and void, meaning that the independent variable, the presumed cause, cannot actually be tested to prove whether it is the cause or not. If the experimenter cannot directly manipulate and change the independent variable, then it cannot be proven to be the cause of the effect. A person may say, just because you cannot directly manipulate and change the independent variable, that doesn't mean that it isn't the cause of the effect. That is correct, but what it means is it cannot be proven to be the cause and so is just a belief. This leads people to mistakenly believing in non-proven ideas for long periods of time, as demonstrated by the example of phlogiston theory. Unless a proven cause is ascertained by the application of the scientific method, then the cause could be ascribed to literally anything a person wants it to be. For example, I could state that it is not phlogiston that is leaving the burning wood, but invisible unicorns. Unless the scientific method is applied, then unicorns have to be considered as viable a presumed cause as phlogiston or anything else a person wants to presume the cause to be. This indicates that if a theory does not comply with the scientific method, then it is no more than an unproven belief and is not factual or verifiable. The phlogiston theory example proves that 1. It is absolutely essential that a statement made regarding an observation must accurately describe only what is observed and not include any extraneous terms. 2. Any theory must be scrutinized by the scientific method to authenticate its validity. These 2 points will be carried forward into the discussion about energy that now follows. Please also note the similarities between phlogiston and energy, both an invisible ethereal type substance that transfers and is absorbed, just an observation. To proceed, it is first essential to present a definition of energy. The Encyclopedia Britannica will be used for definitions. Energy, in physics, the capacity for doing work. It may exist in potential, kinetic, thermal, electrical, chemical, nuclear, or other various forms. There are, moreover, heat and work, i.e., energy in the process of transfer from one body to another. After it has been transferred, energy is always designated according to its nature. Hence, heat transferred may become thermal energy, while work done may manifest itself in the form of mechanical energy. So what is work? Work in physics, measure of energy transfer that occurs when an object is moved over a distance by an external force, at least part of which is applied in the direction of the displacement. This is probably the basic model of energy that you were taught. The energy in or of the chemicals is transferred as electrical energy along the copper wires to the bulb, which transfers the electrical energy into light energy and thermal energy. So the energy of the cell or battery is now the energy of light or in light and thermal energy. Today, children are taught a slightly different model of energy. Young students are taught about energy stores and that energy transfers between stores by energy carriers or pathways or transfers. Mechanically, when a force moves through a distance. Electrically, when a charge moves through a potential difference. By heating because of a temperature difference. By radiation, example, light, microwaves, sound. When the energy of one store decreases, the energy of another store increases. For a complete overview, please check out the Institute of Physics Energy Guidance Notes. So in the present model of energy, A, energy is not created or destroyed, and B, energy is transferred from one form or type to another. So what is actually transferred? Energy is described as the ability to do work. This is a concept. Nothing physical is actually transferred from the battery to the bulb. The battery transfers a concept to the bulb. Is this really our present model of energy? According to the present energy model, 1. Does the cannonball possess energy and that is why it is moving? Or 1. Is it because the cannonball is moving that it possesses energy? But energy is described as the ability to do work, which is a concept. So according to energy being described as the ability to do work, which is a concept, then 1. The cannonball possesses a concept and that is why it is moving, or 2. The cannonball is moving so it possesses a concept. This present model of energy seems to be the reification of a concept. Summary. Energy is the capacity to do work, and work is a measure of energy transferred. The above statement can at best be called a description of a concept. I can describe a unicorn, but it does not mean that unicorns exist. The above statement is not an explanation and does not prove that energy is real and exists. Can energy be proved to be real and exist, or is it truly just a concept and nothing more? Can the application of the scientific method prove the existence of energy? Can energy be proven to be the cause of the effects I witness? What is the outcome of applying the scientific method to energy? Observed natural phenomenon, running man, object in motion. Alternative hypothesis, energy causes running, motion, the effect. Null hypothesis, energy does not cause running, motion, or the effect. Independent variable, energy. Dependent variable, running. I cannot increase or decrease energy. I can only increase the amount of food that the person eats, but that would make the independent variable food. As demonstrated, energy cannot be proven to be the cause of the effect through the application of the scientific method. Just like phlogiston and the force of gravity, energy cannot be proven to be the cause of any effect through the application of the scientific method. Can energy be stated to be a logical antecedent? An antecedent is the first half of a hypothetical proposition whenever the if clause precedes the then clause. An implication consists of a pair of sentences separated by the operator and enclosed in parentheses. For example, the implication of P and Q is P operator Q in parentheses. The sentence to the left of the operator in an implication is called the antecedent, and the sentence to the right is called the consequent. For example, in the implication, parenthesis P operator Q close parenthesis, P is the antecedent and Q is the consequent. The truth value of an implication is false if and only if its antecedent is true and its consequent is false. Otherwise, the truth value is true. How does this relate to the physical and natural world? Antecedent, operator, consequent. In the physical and natural world, the antecedent must first be known and proven to physically exist before it can be claimed as the antecedent. For an example, to me, a frog is obviously the logical antecedent for frog spawn. If I am holding frog spawn, then I know it was laid by a frog. The frog must or have existed. If you showed an Inuit some frog spawn, he would not know that frogs existed. To claim an antecedent-consequent relationship in the natural and physical world, both the antecedent and the consequent must be first proven to exist. If not, the relationship is but a just-so story. Can I show the Inuit man a person running or an object in motion? Yes. Can I show him energy? No. Energy is not the logical antecedent to work or motion. Summary. Energy cannot be proven to exist by the application of the scientific method. Energy is not the logical antecedent to work or motion. So what is energy? In the present model, energy is a description of a concept. Energy is a story used by people in an attempt to explain what they witness with their senses. You could call energy a concept, but that would potentially give the false impression that energy has been proven to exist. Again, you could say we have an energy model, but that too could potentially give the false impression that energy has been proven to exist. But the man cannot push the block if he doesn't have energy. That is a nice story. Now first, the existence of this energy must be proved. The man is the cause of the block moving, the effect, and energy is the cause of the man working and the man and block moving, the effect. Okay, take the man away, the presumed cause, and the block doesn't move, observed effect. The man is the cause of the effect. Next, take the energy, the presumed cause, out of the man, and the man and block will not move. How can energy be taken out of the man? Can you take a concept out of a person? How about we don't feed the man? The man eventually dies and the block or man do not move. We have shown that food is a cause of the man and block moving, the effect, so not energy. But the food contains energy. That's a nice story. Can it be proved? Can it be proven that food contains energy? I eat food and do not starve and push the block. So the independent variable is food. It is not energy. Once again, energy cannot be proven to be a cause. As you can see, energy is not the cause of anything. It will be continually stated by an energist that the cause of the effect is energy, but when asked to prove it, they will not be able to. Let's have an example. Example, the handheld fan. Person A says the battery causes the fan to move. Effect. That can be easily proved. The energist will say the battery has energy and that is the actual cause, but cannot prove it. Person B says it's the type and position of the chemicals within the battery that causes the fan to move. Effect. The energist says that the chemicals have energy and that is the actual cause, but cannot prove it. As demonstrated, the energist will always state that the cause of the effect is energy. But an object in motion has to have energy. Has to have energy. Why? Because someone said it has to? That's a nice story. Now prove it. Prove the car in motion has energy. It cannot be proven. It is just a concept that has been reified. Car A must have energy because if it collides with a stationary car B will move. No, car A made stationary car B move because car A was in motion. Car A in motion was the cause of the effect car B moving. No motion, then no collision, and no movement of car B. Once again, the energist will always state that the cause of the effect is energy, but will not be able to prove the claim. Thus, energy is not the antecedent for motion. A bullet in motion does not possess kinetic energy. Also, stating that motion, the effect, is caused by energy and motion occurs because energy exists is a begging the question logical fallacy, also known as circular reasoning. Conclusion. Energy cannot be proven to exist by the application of the scientific method. Energy is not the logical antecedent to work or motion. Energy is a story used by people in an attempt to explain and quantify the motion effects that they observe. This means that the general understanding of the conservation of energy is not real. 1. That energy cannot be created or destroyed in an isolated system. The total quantity of energy in the universe stays the same. What energy? 2. That energy is transferred or transformed. What energy? If a person claims that sugar, batteries, and the sun possess energy or transfer energy, then they must prove that claim. People will believe in energy, like some people believe that gravity is a force, and many people will keep using the term energy, like the term force of gravity is used. Unfortunately, this will limit understanding and progress. To a hammer, everything is a nail. A hammer can only hit a screw, even though it will distort and possibly destroy the screw and piece of wood in the process. The incorrect use of physics and mathematics has produced a disfigured set of stories that have been presented and taught to the unsuspecting public. Under analysis and scrutiny, the quality of the workmanship of those that have gone before is now being exposed. The application of the scientific method and logic is revealing the lack of proof for the claims that have been made and is exposing the fact that many of the scientific theories we learned about are only based on assumptions, guesses, and evidence that would be laughed out of a court of law. Does it matter if the present energy model isn't accurate? The mathematical models based on the energy model still allow calculations to be made and devices constructed. Devices do not function due to mathematics. Mathematics does not make any device function. A catapult device can be built without any mathematics. A larger, more effective catapult device can be produced without any mathematics. Mathematics does not prove a cause and effect relationship based on the observation of a natural phenomenon. But what about the energy model not being accurate? Is that important? What difference does it make? How can we hope to gain any understanding of our reality if our present energy model acts like a mental filter and influences how we observe and process information? If your education has created a hypothetical green mental filter in your mind, then how do you see the apple? Actually, you don't see it. It's no color. Any claim must be carefully scrutinized and its validity proven. Yes, it does matter if the present energy model isn't provable or accurate. As discussed, phlogiston theory stalled and limited our understanding of combustion for approximately 100 years because of the incorrect explanation of observations that became dogma and belief. If a claim cannot be proven, it is essential that it is discarded before it results in a wild goose chase and a series of misunderstanding. A trip down the garden path, as we say in England. So, the present energy model cannot be proven to exist by the application of the scientific method, and energy is not the logical antecedent to work or motion. Where does that leave us? Back to the drawing board and a clean slate. That may seem slightly daunting, but actually it is a productive place to be. I'm not saying that there is no cause of motion that we observe. Of course there is. Now, we have learned from past assumptions, guesswork, models, and mathematics, and also realize that there is no shame in saying that we do not know something, then we are at an appropriate point to move forward from. Part 2 of this series will be on motion and the reification of energy. But before Part 2 is published, I offer the following challenge. If you can prove the existence of energy, then please present your evidence on the Nathan Oakley Flat Earth Debate Show. The show is Monday through Friday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. UK time. You will be warmly welcomed. The link to join the show is https://discord.gg/r4TEKFT. Note: proof does not mean descriptions and words, it means a practical demonstration that is both observable and repeatable and based on logic or the scientific method. My sincere thanks to Karen B. for her technical support in the production, to Nathan Oakley 1980 for hosting the presentation of any forthcoming proof, and Adam Meakin for patiently dealing with my annoying questions.